Now we will shift from music to healthcare and technology. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome strategist Scott McGohan.
Hello, Dayton. It's a fun day. I think all of us would agree that technology has changed the landscape of healthcare. And I think one of the questions that we have is, can technology begin to change the inside of us? And I hope it can. I hope it can because we've created a dysfunctional healthcare system. Yeah. Now, you know, it is the best in the world by far. It's one of the biggest. It is the most expensive by a long shot. And the results really in our country really are telling us that we're not getting that much better. There's a writer, her name's Erica Young, and she says this, and I love this. She said, every country gets the circus it creates. And we created this circus. But at the end of the day, I also believe we can change it. We can. But I'm not here to talk to you about our healthcare system. I want to talk about something much closer to home. I want to talk about you and I. And can the technology that we hold in our hands, can it begin to change the inside of us? I hope it can. It's important, and here's why. The United States, as a nation, used to produce more goods than any other country on the planet for decades. We lost. Now the United States produces more disease than any other country on the planet. Developed nation. Boom. We used to be the heaviest developed country. We just lost to Mexico. I don't think that's worth celebrating, to be honest with you. And I think of all of the developed countries on our planet, we have the number one highest infant mortality. That doesn't make any sense to me. And the most astounding fact of all is in the United States last year, we filled 3.2 billion prescriptions, billion, for over 300 million Americans. Now, folks, that's 100 billion pills. There's only 7 billion people that live on the planet. So how can a country with less than 5% of the world's population consume 45% of the prescription drugs? There's something wildly wrong with this equation. And quite frankly, I played a part in it. And actually, a lot of us do. There is this gigantic silo in our healthcare system, inside of the healthcare dollar, and it's called chronic disease. They say it equates to about 75 cents of the healthcare dollar. It's a big number. I just want to talk about two things. I want to talk about real disease. Those are diseases that are handed to people through no fault of their own. Like my niece, at 18 months old, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. There's nothing Rosie did to create that disease state. And there are many more just like that. But wait. They say as much as 50 cents of the healthcare dollar is lifestyle-based. And by the way, it's not separate from the 75. It's actually in the 75. It's actually camouflaged or hidden. Now, when I hear that word lifestyle, I hear a lot of things, but the one thing I do hear is I hear the word choice, which means we've made maybe poor choices. Maybe we've created disease state. Maybe we've self-created disease. Type 2 diabetes, in most cases, is an example in this category. And there are a host of many more. Now, the drivers for self-created disease are real familiar to me because I've either abused or ignored each one of them. And the first one is stress. I have no advice for people. PACE is kind of like my drug of choice. It's not healthy. It's just honest. But 20% of Americans take an antidepressant, 1 in 5. I'm not a doctor, and I believe in antidepressants. I think they're effective. I just think way too many people take them. For decades, I watched television commercials, and I read magazine articles telling me that there was an easy solution, a quick fix. It didn't work for me. It actually masked the real problems. I took outside information and realized it was an inside problem. Smoking is the same way. I smoked for 20 years. 45 million Americans smoke in this country. It kills 400,000 people a year in the United States. That's a big number. And it's the leading preventable cause of death in the United States. When I was a real little kid, I was in grade school, And our teacher was talking to us about smoking. So she had a lung of a smoker, if you can believe that. And then she gave us a picture of that lung, and she said, hey, you need to go home and talk to your parents about smoking. So I have a twin brother, and we're walking home, and we're promising each other that we would never smoke. And it was a gigantic lie, because 6 years later, we're in a treehouse smoking a pack of cigarettes, just the two of us. And I remember on the pack of the cigarettes, it said something like this. It said, warning, if you're pregnant, this may be harmful to your health. And that's what it said when I was 12. The price of cigarettes didn't change me. More information about tobacco didn't change me. It was an inside problem. Food consumption, it's a big problem in this country. I used to weigh 40 more pounds than I weigh today. 60% of America is overweight. 30% are obese. I looked at food labels for decades. It meant nothing to me. Ultimately, the inside of me didn't like the outside, so the outside didn't have a chance. And lastly, it brings me up to exercise. 80% of Americans don't get the right amount of exercise, and it's the biggest driver towards obesity in this country. Folks, the CDC is telling us this. It's a big message. They're saying, hey, America, if we would just focus on 3 of these, smoking, food consumption, and exercise, hear me, we could prevent in this country 80% of heart disease, 80% of stroke, 80% of type 2 diabetes, and 40% of most forms of cancer. That's huge. That is gigantic. And I think as a country, wouldn't you agree we have enough data, we have enough information? The real question is why is this still an epidemic? I don't think we suffer from awareness, stuff coming at us. I think part of me thinks we suffer from acceptance. I think we fight this from the outside. Quite honestly, I think our health is an inside job. This is kind of what happened to me in my life. So I'm 49. When I was 43, I went to this app on my phone. And it asked me a lot of questions. And they were serious questions like alcohol consumption, smoking, diet, exercise, sleep. And I'm like, really? I don't even want to think about this. But for some strange reason, I decided to tell this technology the truth. And then it faced me back. It thanked me for participating. And then it said something like this. It said, hey, when you started this exercise, you told me you were 43. Your health age is 51. Wow. I've been married for over 20 years. I got 2 great kids. I love what I do. Why am I willing to play Russian roulette with 8 years of my life? The technology told me a different story. Quite frankly, it told me I was selfish. And then it gave me this gift of self-awareness, which I think ultimately gave me a gift of healthier birthdays. I think additionally, too, technology, it won't stop coming towards us. Today, this technology holds the dashboard of my health, how the inside of me is working every day, biometrics, cholesterol, blood pressure, and it will get gigantic, huge. My car has had this technology for decades. I looked at it today. I am convinced, I promise you this, there is no way I would have made it here this morning if I would have treated my car the way I treated my body for the last 20 years. Impossible. Isn't going to work. And I think what's interesting about our dashboard and our car, if a light comes on, I got choices to make. If I ignore that, I lose something really important to me, transportation. So the only thing I would ask all of us is how important are birthdays? Pretty important to all of us. This technology will not stop. This is just an example of some of it that will come towards us. And it's racing towards us at lightning speed. Embrace it. Be curious about it. Curiosity is one of the greatest gifts on our planet. Here's a list of just some. I just want to talk about one for just a second. Diabetes care. I told you my niece, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when she was 18 months old. For her 5th birthday, all she wanted to do was spend the night at somebody's house. That was her birthday wish. That's all she wanted to do. She didn't get it. She watched her brothers and sisters do it, but my brother and his wife, they were afraid. They couldn't find anyone to manage that disease for an evening. Technology is meeting people with diabetes. As soon as they test, the results can be sent to their doctor, maybe even to their parents. It's incredible. Just be curious. Because I think at the end of the day, this is not an invasion of privacy. This is our future. Stephen Covey said something really powerful. He said, look, you cannot act your way out of something you behave your way into. You can only behave your way out. And I love that. I think sometimes, I can't believe I'm about to say this out loud, but my brain is like a bad neighborhood, and I shouldn't be there alone sometimes. Yeah. And I'm not alone right now. But I think what's really interesting about that, and it's the truth, because technology was my friend. It told me the truth. It did. And look, I tell you what, I am not perfect. I make tons of mistakes. And this is not the only solution to stop the production of disease in America. But if 50% of the problem is lifestyle-based, maybe this technology tells our life a different story. Maybe that's what we need to hear. At the end of the day, we've got to come to the conclusion, we created this. We want to blame other institutions, our government. It doesn't matter. They play a gigantic role. But we created it. And I also believe we can change it. If you can imagine for a minute, what would imagine if we could aim our healthcare system, which is the best in the world by far, if we could aim it towards real disease, towards people that have real diseases, the impact we could make in the world would be incredible. But it can't, because it's really tired and it's worn out fixing self-created disease. What if we did our part, boom, and they did theirs? It would be incredible, the gifts that we could give to people, to our country, to people with real disease, to each other. Think of the kids that are watching us. What about the generation behind them? I think we've fought bigger fights. I think we've won bigger battles. I think this solution, 50% of it, is at our feet. And heck, who knows? It might even be in our hands. I think if we created it, we can change it. Thank you.